25% more power and 20% improved fuel economy. That is what the brand new Nissan Juke Hybrid can offer over the standard car. However, this has a starting price that is over £3,200 more compared to the manual version of the standard car. Therefore, is the hybrid version actually worth your money? Keep watching to find out. Car Obsession is proudly supported by Carly and Draggy. Check out the video description to find out the latest discount codes. What the hybrid giveth with one hand, it taketh away with the other. Yes, you do get better fuel economy, but it comes at a price. A smaller boot. The standard Juke offers 422 litres, which even that isn't class leading, but sadly, because of the extra room needed for the hybrid gubbings, this offers 354 litres, which for context is around the same as the Volkswagen Polo, a super mini, so a little bit disappointing. Now on the plus side, you do get a height adjustable boot floor, so if you want more space, you can of course have the floor set to its lowest, or if you want to have less of a load lip, or you want to store some items underneath the boot floor for a bit of added security, you can lift up the boot floor like so. Very easy to do, and all of a sudden it'll be easier to load bigger, heavier items, or perhaps dogs, although I'd say if you're looking to get a St. Bernard in here, you're going to fail. Now if you want even more space, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats, which do fold pretty much flat, and as long as you have the boot floor set to its highest, you don't get a nasty load lip either. So again, if you want to load bigger items, flat packs from IKEA, etc., that should be easy to do. So the boot is a little bit disappointing, but is it still usable? Yes, but could be better. Now here's 5 things I like about the new Nissan Juke Hybrid. Number 1, the way how it looks. Unlike the previous generation, the new Juke has actually been designed by people who have the gift of sight. Now I know some of you still think the new car's ugly, but you know what? I quite like it. Yes, I did just say that. And what? I think the magnetic blue paintwork really helps actually. A very nice colour. Number 2, the interior. You know what? Credit where credit's due. It's a nice place to be. It's pretty plush. Number 3, the sound system. As standard on the Tekna Plus, you get Bose sound system with 10 speakers. Oh yes. Number 4, the tyres. This may seem like a bit of an odd one, but bear with me. This car is fitted with Goodyear Eagle F1 tyres, which are very good. I like that. And number 5, safety. This car's got more safety kit than you can shake a stick at, and as such, it has been awarded 5 stars by Euro NCAP. Safe as houses. Now, time for 5 things I dislike about the new Nissan Juke Hybrid. The first of which, number 1, is the boot. As I've mentioned, it's smaller than before, and it is somewhat disappointing. Yeah. Although, having said that, I have been able to fit all my filming stuff in here, which I was surprised by, so not all bad. Number 2, rear space. Like the standard car, the Juke Hybrid isn't exactly gargantuan when it comes to space in the rear, so if you're a taller person, yeah, you'll want to shotgun the front passenger seat. Number 3, the ride. Nissan, in its wisdom, has decided to fit the Tekna Plus with 19 inch alloys, which I think for a car of this size is simply overkill. Yes, they may look good, but the low speed ride leaves a lot to be desired. Number 4, perceived value. Yes, this car is cheaper to run, but it's more expensive to buy, and it doesn't quite work out financially, as I will explain a little bit later. And number 5, this is a picky one, but I can't think of anything else at this stage, but the slot for your smartphone is too small for an S22 Ultra. Come on Nissan, get with the times, phones are getting bigger. Now making up the ensemble, you have a 1.6 litre naturally aspirated petrol, which is of course aided by an electric motor. Together they produce 143 horsepower. Interestingly, Nissan on their spec sheet do not give a torque for the engine, but they do give one for the electric motor, which is 205 Newton meters. Now I'm sure you're not too concerned about performance, but in case you are, this will hit 62 miles per hour in 10.1 seconds and the top speed is 103 miles per hour. Of course, you're more concerned about fuel economy. So on a combined run, Nissan states this can offer up to 56.5 mpg, and CO2 emissions are as low as 114 grams per kilometre. The car can be driven on EV only for a speed up to 34 miles per hour. Therefore, in urban environments, this will be very handy. In fact, Nissan claim that in urban environments, the Juke can be driven on EV only for up to 80% of the time, and compared to the standard Juke, is 40% more fuel efficient. As you can imagine, in EV mode, it's nice and quiet, but when you put your foot down on more scenic routes like this, the 1.6 engine can be a little bit boomy. To be fair, on that particular occasion, it wasn't too bad. The car has 6 gears in total. You have 4 gears for the engine and 2 for the electric motor. The Juke Hybrid makes decent progress. I wouldn't call it particularly fast, although to be fair, it isn't designed to be. Compared to the standard car, you will notice a slight pep in power, because as I mentioned in the intro, this has 25% more power. I believe compared to the standard car, this will hit 62 miles per hour, almost 2 seconds faster, which may not seem like much, but in real world day-to-day drivability, I'm sure you'll notice it. As I touched upon in my 5 things I dislike, the ride in the Juke Hybrid is quite firm, it is quite lumpy. To be honest, down here at 50 miles per hour, it isn't too bad. Granted, the road isn't the smoothest or the flattest, but I've got no complaints. The seats are comfortable, and as standard they are heated as well, which on a day like today where it's 5 degrees, that is most welcome. The ride around town though, yeah, it's lumpy, it's quite jiggly and annoying. I wouldn't call it outright uncomfortable, but it's an unwelcome distraction, that's for sure. Now, whilst the ride may not be to my satisfaction, the handling is. Granted, this isn't a corner carving hot hatchback, but you know what, for the type of car it is, I think it holds its own rather well. At each corner, as I've mentioned, you've got Goodyear Eagle F1 tyres, which are, yes, a very good tyre, and I rate them highly. So to have them fitted on a family crossover is a pleasant surprise. The steering is quite light, and for the most part it is vague. It does get a bit weightier with speed, and you do get a little bit more communication, but for the most part, yeah, you don't get much feedback from the steering. But again, I'm sure for the majority of you watching, you're not really fussed about that. Now, you do have 3 driving modes. You have standard, eco and sport, all of which are pretty self-explanatory. In sport mode, the Juke Hybrid can be somewhat rewarding to drive. Now, I'm not going to go out on a limb and call it a driver's car, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, the engine is quite boomy when it wants to be, when you really put it under significant load. But when you hit cruising speeds, it's quite quiet in here. I have detected a bit of wind noise from the door mirrors. Tyre noise is well controlled, and at 70 miles per hour, using my sound meter, I recorded a sound of 70.1 decibels, which is almost what Nissan claims on its spec sheet, which is 69 decibels. Not the quietest car I've ever driven, but it's far from the loudest as well, so yeah, pretty good. I've had no issues with visibility. The rear window is a good size, door mirrors are a good size. As standard, I've got blind spot monitor, which gives you a bit of extra help on the motorway or the highway if needs be. And visibility over the shoulder is just fine. The hybrid powertrain is actually very closely related to the powertrain Renault uses in the Capture, and that's because Nissan and Renault, they share their homework. This system does have a few nuances which I would go into, but I'd end up being very nerdy and, to be frank, boring you to death. One thing I will point out though, which is interesting and is easy to explain, is that on the Juke Hybrid, unlike the Renault alternative, I have Nissan's e-pedal. Turn it on and you can essentially drive the car just using the one pedal, and it gives you better regenerative braking. So lift off the accelerator and you can feel the car bringing itself down to a gradual stop. So that's one thing the Renault can't offer you. To go back onto the handling, now I've got a bit of open road in front of me. Yeah, credit where credit's due. The Juke's actually pretty good. The grip is impressive. The steering weight and sport is pretty satisfactory. The brakes do feel a little bit numb on the initial dab, but when you apply more pressure, you do get more feedback. A little bit of roll in the corners, as you would expect from a taller, high-riding crossover, but nothing that I would really complain about. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to pull over and crunch some numbers, because I want to go through something you may find interesting. Oh, low-speed ride is rubbish. As much as this car offers better fuel economy, it is more expensive to buy to begin with. So, how much value does this car offer? So I've got some notes here. Now, over the course of a year, let's say you've done 10,000 miles at a petrol cost of £1.52 per litre. The standard car, the manual version of the mild hybrid Juke, that would cost you, over the course of a year, in fuel alone, £1,418.90. So that's based on the manual version of the Connecta. The hybrid version, on the other hand, using the same parameters, 10,000 miles a year, £1.52 a litre, blah, 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 would cost you £1,223.02. So if you subtract the hybrid running costs from the standard car running costs, you end up with a saving of £195.88 a year. Now, any saving is good, of course, but it's not quite as much as you may have anticipated. Now, given the fact that this car is over £3,200 more compared to the manual version of the Connecta, if you bought this car outright, to break even compared to the standard car, you would need to own this for 16.5 years. That's a long time to own any car. Now, to be fair, I imagine the majority of you will either finance this car or lease it. Therefore, I doubt many of you will buy the car outright. But I wanted to just do a few numbers to prove that the value isn't quite as good if you were to buy the car outright. So yeah, I was quite staggered when I did those calculations, so much so I had to recheck them. This is cheaper to run, but yeah, a fair bit more to buy. Right, anyway, back onto the road. Now, of course, with this being a hybrid, there is a slight tweak to the instrument cluster. Instead of having a rev counter, instead what I've got is a power gauge. So you have three separate sections. You have eco, power and charge. All quite self-explanatory. So for example, I'm in eco now. If I lift up the accelerator, I've got regenerative braking, therefore it goes into charge, and if I put my foot down, it goes right to the top of power. So it's nice to have a very clear gauge on how your driving is doing. Not only do you have a gauge for the fuel, you also have one for the battery charger as well. Even though the battery was almost depleted when I started this drive, now that I've done some regenerative braking, the battery is almost topped up. Before I wrap things up, let me cover the pricing Unlike the standard Juke, the hybrid version starts at the N-Connecta trim level as opposed to the Visia. This means the starting price for the hybrid version is £28,210, but the trim level tested here is the range-topping Tekna Plus. With a starting price of £31,110, it offers standard features such as 19-inch alloys, two-tone metallic paint, interior personalisation pack, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, dual-zone climate control, front and rear parking sensors, reversing camera, 10-speaker Bose sound system, 8-inch touchscreen with smartphone connectivity and navigation. There is also a strong suite of safety systems, including autonomous emergency braking, traffic sign recognition, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, active ride control, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, plus more. All of this meant it was able to get 5 stars from Euro NCAP, making it an appealing choice for those looking for a safe family car. So to conclude, the Nissan Juke Hybrid. As I mentioned, if you are a cash buyer, I don't think this model makes as much sense as buying the standard car, but let's be honest, most of you will finance or lease the car. Therefore, yes, this option makes more sense as the monthly payments won't be much more, but you will see a difference in running costs. Should you buy, try or avoid the Nissan Juke Hybrid? I think you should try it. It has got a few flaws and there are many competitors in this class, so I think you should do your shopping around to see what suits you best. A big thank you to Nissan UK for loaning me this car for the week, and of course a massive thank you to you guys watching this video. I do hope you have found it useful or helpful. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.